distance, then it's gone. Seems to disappear somewhere around the bend. But that river never ends. On this perfect day, troubles melt away. Shield my eyes from bright reflection, and the river's rolling on into the distance, then it's gone. Seems to disappear somewhere around the bend. Never ends. In our daughter's eyes, see the azure skies. She'll take our love into the future. Our love is rolling on into the distance, never gone. Rolling on into the distance, never gone. Our love is rolling on into the distance, never gone. It just goes on and on and on.
The sun rose, the sun set. People called it time. It's an old story. How precious is this time? You told me that you needed some and wanted none of mine. It's an old story. Can't touch it with your fingers, but you feel it moving on, and you know it's gone, it's gone. I know that heart inside you is as golden as the sun. It's an old story. I'm just not the one. And now gonna do with all this time? With all this time. Ooh. And now, what am I gonna do?
If it were up to me, I would educate the people, setting everybody free. Declare war on poverty, unite to find a way to work for peace and harmony. Everyone would have a chance to be just who they wanna be. If it were up to me, if it were up to me, I would fan the flames of freedom that could be seen across the sea. No one would die needlessly. Religions would not be used as a tool to hate someone. Politicians would lead the charge and feel the heat when they were wrong. If it were up to me, how can so many be ruled by so few? If we stand in opposition, tell me what can they do? But that decision comes down to me and you. If it were up to me, we would all show special care of the land beneath our feet and the quality of our air, 'cause this world is all we have to pass on to our children. Not a legacy of greed, but a world filled with compassion. If it were up to me, how can so many be ruled by so few? If we stand in opposition, tell me what can they do? But that decision comes down to me and you. If it were up to me, if it were up to me, I would fan the flames of freedom that could be seen across the sea. No one would die needlessly. Religions would not be used as a tool to hate someone. Politicians would lead the charge and feel the heat when they were wrong. If it were up to me, I guess it's up to me. It's all up to me. It's up to me and you.
A covenant is a promise made to ourselves and others about how we want to treat each other. These promises are ideals, and this document is a record of our highest aspirations.
We find ourselves breaking these promises. This covenant will serve as a reference and a reminder of our agreements.
This is a living document and will be reviewed and updated as we grow into our SUUSI mission.
The mission of SUUSI is to provide a one-week experience evoking the best within us, in concert with Unitarian Universalist principles.
SUUSI offers the opportunity to share an intergenerational environment of love, personal freedom, ethics, and joy in an intentional, non-judgmental community.
Safety. We are all responsible for creating an emotionally, physically, and spiritually safe space for all participants.
Trust. We offer our authentic selves, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and holding the vulnerability of others with the greatest care.
Validation. We see, hear, and value each other for who we are with all the expressions of our identities.
Affirmation. We show appreciation for the gifts each person brings to the community.
Accountability. We strive to act as if everything we do matters for the well-being of our SUUSI community.
Reconciliation. We agree to enter into truth and reconciliation processes when conflicts or disagreements arise.
If we find ourselves breaking these promises, this covenant will serve as a reference and a reminder of our agreements.
If we find ourselves breaking these promises, this covenant will serve as a reference and a reminder of our agreements.
Hello, SUUSI. Oh, there. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. It's just SUUSI time, so it's like 24 hours wondering what time it is. I hope you all are wearing your name tags so that we can find you in the dining hall and all of that. I'm really excited about tonight's service. Our Covenant and Accountability team has been working hard to bring this service to us. And our Covenant and Accountability team is Dave Dunn, who serves as the minister at UU Metro Atlanta North in Roswell, Georgia. And a fun fact about Dave is that he has 4 dogs, 2 cats, and 1 bird, and has no idea how this happened. And I think we saw one of those dogs in his video there. Preston Regal lives in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. He's been coming to SUUSI for as long as he can remember. He is incredibly excited to be able to give back to this community. Liz Roper grew up Unitarian near Manchester, England. She has served our faith in North America and Europe as a religious educator, conference dean, chaplain, Zoom technician, worship leader, and storyteller. Lucy Smith lives in Western Massachusetts, which they assure you is still plenty hot this time of year. In their spare time, they like to do logic puzzles and watch unconventional competition shows. This is their 12th SUUSI. Reverend Amy Carol Webb, they, is a SUUSI-born minister who came through the SUUSI music doorway in 1999 with her spouse, Brooke, and their 2 boys, never looked back, and has now served our River of Grass UU congregation in Davie, Florida since 2012. Fun fact, she can build bookcases almost as fast as she piles in more books. Greg Greenway is our musician for tonight's service, and he is a singer-songwriter originally from Richmond, Virginia, and moved to Boston after college at William & Mary. He has played Carnegie Hall, been on All Things Considered, and Mountain Stage, but the pinnacle of his career was having a song played on Car Talk. He first came to SUUSI in 2012. I hope you enjoy the service.
In a moment, I will invite you to join in singing Come, Come, Whoever You Are. The text is from Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, who was a 13th century Muslim theologian, scholar, and Sufi mystic. He was born in modern-day Afghanistan from Persian-speaking parents and lived most of his life in the Anatolian Peninsula, which is where modern-day Turkey is. He was a lifelong scholar of the Quran and Islam. We are singing it today, including the crucial descant, "Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times," thereby welcoming ourselves and each other as we are, with our failings and shortcomings, again and again turning back toward joy and belonging. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, come, whoever you are, ours is no caravan, 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 cover of speed, ours is no caravan, of despair. Come, yet again, 1,000 times. Come, yet again, 1,000 times. Come, yet again, 1,000 times. Come, yet again, come.
Our chalice lighting tonight is from our very own Reverend Jan Taddeo. Whoever you are, come. Come into this circle of love and light. No matter you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, stay, return. Whoever you are, bring your whole self, your wandering, worshiping, wondering self. Come again and again to the circle of covenanted community. No matter you've broken your vows over and over and over again. Allow the light of our chalice to guide us all towards grace, forgiveness, and reconciliation as love brings us together.
I have a story to share with you. The Big Orange Splot by Daniel M. Pinkwater. Mr. Plumbeam lived on a neat street. Mr. Plumbeam lived on a street where all the houses looked the same. Everybody liked it that way, and the only thing they ever said was, "This is a neat street." Then one day a seagull came flying by, carrying a can of orange paint. No one knows why. And as he went over Mr. Plumbeam's house, he dropped that can of paint. No one knows why, but it left a huge orange splot on his roof. The neighbors started to talk. "Ooh, too bad. Mr. Plumbeam will have to paint his house again." "I suppose I will." But he didn't get to painting his house straight away. He took his time and started to think. The neighbors started to get very tired of that big orange splot. Mr. Plumbeam, we do wish you'd get round to painting your house. Okay. So Mr. Plumbeam got some blue paint and some white paint, and he set about painting at night because it was cooler. He painted the walls, he painted the roof, and he went to get more paint, purple paint, pink paint, green paint, and he painted all night. In the morning when the people came out, all the houses looked the same, except for Mr. Plumbeam's. It was like a rainbow, a jungle, an explosion. There were stripes, the big orange spot was still there, with small orange spots too. There were swirls, there were pretty ladies, there were steamrollers, there was a lion. Mr. Plumbeam has popped his cork, flipped his wig, and blown his stack, dropped his stopper. The neighbours went away muttering. And that night, Mr. Plumbeam went out to the carpenter's shop. He got tools ready to work, which he did so at night, because it was cooler. And he built a clock tower, and on top he painted a big clock face. In the morning, Mr. Plumbeam has mushed his lost his marbles, slipped his horser. They decided that they would pretend not to notice. That night, Mr. Plumbeam went out again with his truck to the local garden centre and picked up baobab trees and bushes and palm trees and all sorts of things. And he got to work at night because it was cooler. And in the morning, he had got a hammock set up between two trees and he was swinging in it with his new pet alligator. Plumbeam has gone too far. This used to be a neat street. What have you done to your house? My house is me, and I am it. My house is where I like to be, and it looks like all my dreams. The people went away and talked to the neighbour who lived right next door to Mr. Plumbeam. Tell him that we all liked it before he changed his house. Tell him that his house has to be the same as ours, so we can have a neat street. The man went to see Mr. Plumbeam in the evening, and Mr. Plumbeam offered him lemonade. They sat and talked about why Mr. Plumbeam had done something so out of the ordinary. They talked all night, but enough time for his neighbour to go out while it was still cool and get paint and lumber himself. The next morning, there was a giant red and yellow and blue ship next to Mr. Plumbeam's house. What have you done to your house? My house is me, and I am it. It's where I like to be, and it looks like all my dreams, said the neighbour, who had always loved ships. He's just like Plumbeam. He's got bees in his bonnet, bats in the belfry, and nuts in his noodle. Then one by one, each neighbour went to Mr. Plumbeam's house. He always offered them lemonade and sat underneath the trees. They discussed their dreams. They talked about how they might be reality, and the next morning they would set about to work. Each house became their dreams, one by one. Whenever a stranger came to the street, they would look up and down and say, "This is not a neat street." But everyone would say back, "Our street is us, and we are it. It's where we like to be, and it looks like all our dreams." Our street is us, and we are it. It's where we like to be, and it looks like all our dreams.
You know, Preston, before moving to Atlanta a few years ago, I attended the Ohio Meadville District Summer Institute, OMDSI, each and every year in Ohio. It's a lot like SUUSI, but different.
Well, we are Unitarian Universalists. We've been known to do things differently.
I guess, but when I first arrived at SUUSI, I thought, this is not a neat street. I thought that you had all popped your corks, dropped your stoppers, gushed your mush, and slipped your hawsers.
Why did you think that?
I don't know. I guess I just got used to doing things, in a certain way back in Ohio, and that was just the right way to do things.
Do you have a covenant back in Ohio at OMSI?
A covenant? I don't know. We probably did, but I can't remember, and that's my own fault for not remembering. But Preston, really, what difference does it make?
Well, without a covenant, Dave, a community can default to the status quo to set unwritten rules and expectations. And frankly, those things can sometimes be, well, at worst, unwelcoming and hurtful, and at best, inhibiting and restrictive for everyone.
So, like in our story today, the status quo, the unwritten expectation was that theirs was a neat street and that everyone had to have a house that kind of looked the same.
Yeah, and when Mr. Plumbean chose to express his individuality, everyone thought that he had knots in his noodle.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess an expression of one's individuality in the context of a community can sometimes cause friction. And without a covenant, Mr. Plumbean's neighbors had no way to negotiate the expression of his individuality on their supposedly neat street.
Exactly, and perhaps more importantly, without a covenant, Mr. Plumbean's neighbors were actually constricted, limited by the unwritten status quo. They didn't understand that they too could express their full individuality in their community.
I see. And once they had face-to-face conversations with Mr. Plumbean, they came away with an empowered understanding of new possibilities.
Yeah, direct communications. It admittedly sometimes can be difficult and it can sometimes require facilitation, yet without that direct communication, this empowered level of understanding is just not possible.
Okay, so our covenant can help us express our full individuality in the context of our community, while also helping us communicate and understand with one another more fully.
Yes, and through the practice of our covenant, hopefully we will all be able to say as one, SUUSI is us, and we are it. SUUSI is where we like to be, and it looks like all our dreams.
When I was growing up, whatever street we lived on, wherever we were, whether the street was neat or not, my mom was always a kind of neighborhood mom, especially when I was a teenager and for the college kids that my dad taught. Time and time again, some youngin' or another would wind up at our kitchen table 99% of the time to talk with my mom about how in love they were and whether they should get married. At which point my mom would put each of them through the same set of questions, more pragmatic than philosophical, which more often than not would lead the fervent young ones to cry out, "But Sister Webb, we're in love!" At which point my mother would pause and sip her sweet tea and say as matter-of-factly as possible, "Well, honey, you can live on love and cheese as long as the cheese holds out." See, my folks had met young, fallen fabulously, sparkly, shimmery, shiny in love, and married quick in the rush of that love, making all the vast promises love can inspire us to make. They were the it couple at Central Christian College in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And wouldn't you know, once in a while, that young person at our kitchen table was both my friend and one of the children of one of their alumni friends. And then, quite irrespective of my fabulously in love, shiny it couple parents' status, the tough times came. One after another, after another, after another, as they discovered what the vows they had made to one another in the flush of young love were really made of, which wasn't at all the fabulous, sparkly, shimmery, shiny parts of love, but a kind of love built of a substance strong enough to hold through the hungry times. The wisdom my mother shared with young loves at our kitchen table was a truth she had learned in the hardest of ways, that the key to keeping the treasure they had found in each other was not in being in love, but of steadfastly building a relationship of love. The kind of love that grows stronger and goes deeper as we face our necessary, nitty-gritty, beautiful, terrible, awful, joyful human story together. The kind of love that grows into its vows, even broken 1,000 times. The kind of love that earns its way, day after day, year after year, even when the sparkly, shimmery shine wears off and the cheese runs out. And that is the kind of love that covenant is made of. Love is why we're here this evening, in these screens, whether for the first time checking out what this SUUSI thing is, or after a lifetime of SUUSIs. It's a certain kind of love, this SUUSI love. Like all kinds of love, it tends to be all sparkly and shimmery and shiny and new at first, and may even stay that way in our best memories across the years. But honestly, it isn't always like that for everybody, my beloveds. Nor does it necessarily stay that way for any of us any given year. SUUSI doesn't always look like all our dreams. Yet here we are, again. Why do you think that is? Well, for me, I can say that it is because I believe that SUUSI is still becoming the ever-widening, ever-deepening, beloved community that indeed can look like all our dreams. And it's keeping our covenant that can help us keep this treasure that we've found, even through hard times. For while a certain kind of love may have brought us here, it's another kind of love altogether that can help us stay. Even if we've broken our vows 1,000 times, even when the cheese runs out.
I've always been a dreamer. It's the way that I've found for keeping my head in the clouds, no feet on the ground. For that stumbling, humbling parade, what's gonna help me to stay? The romance of the loner is the power of one. You know, it takes the power of many to get anything done. Anything beyond the nose upon your face. For love has brought me here. Oh, what's gonna help me to stay? No one is an island, no one is a stone. Nothing worth doing can be done alone, not alone. No one is an island, no one is a stone. Nothing worth doing can be done alone, not alone. Whoa, alone. For us the new arrivals, late to the stage. Whatever got you to this door, whatever brought you this way, to this stumbling, fumbling parade. Love has brought us here. Oh, what's gonna help us? I said love has brought us here. Oh, love's gonna help us. Love's gonna help us. Love is gonna help us to stay.
I invite you now to join me in a guided imagining from Lenore Bajar-Dukes, the Director of Lifespan Faith Development at our UU Church of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I invite us to stretch a little and get ready to imagine together. And for the kids who are here, who may be listening from across the room or right up close to the screen, you know that there are many ways to listen, and you are welcome here. Let us imagine. So the song we heard earlier and that we sing a lot in UU congregations is called Come, Come, Whoever You Are. It's based on a poem that many people think was written by the mystic Muslim poet Rumi, who is also known as Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi. And this week, I knew that we would be hearing this song together. And as I was thinking of it, I started imagining. Have you ever imagined pictures when you hear special things in church? Well, I do, and I bet some of you do too. And this is what came to me. Imagine with me a person who is wearing splendid robes, standing at a big door and holding it wide open. Inside the door is something warm and wonderful. Maybe this person is someone you know and love. Maybe they are a stranger. Maybe they're even you. And they are saying, come on in, no matter who you are. Yes, you, come in. How do you feel? Now they say, come on in. If you have been wandering and traveling for a long, long time, come on in if you are a religious person or if you have left religion. Come in if you have left a place behind or left behind many places. How do you feel? And now let's imagine that they're saying, and look, this door is not a door of hopelessness or frustration. We are not traveling toward despair here. How do you feel to hear this? And then they say one more thing, maybe the most important thing of all, even though it is not in the song as written in our UU hymnal, but we did hear it this way today. They say, come on in, even if you have made vows or promises and then broken them, and made a promise and broken it, and made a promise and broken it again and again and again. Come in. We have all made promises that we have broken. You're standing in front of someone who is saying, come on in and be with us anyways. How do you feel walking through that door? Now imagine perhaps you are the person holding the door open to someone who has broken those promises. You're standing there holding wide open that door. How do you feel? Come, yet again, come.
I am part of you, are part of me, as we are part of everything woven together in this web of life we live. I will give you everything you give to everyone, and all we give to one another, so that all of us might live. The circle ends where it begins and starts again just where it ends. No seam, no separation, and no finish line to pass. There is no need for hurry and no use for fear and worry, for our lives roll on forever, but only this one moment lasts. I am in the center of the center you are in, with everything you know and everything you try to understand. I will love you always and forever, as you love the one who's everything and nothing you once dreamed of hand in hand. The circle ends where it begins and starts again just where it ends. No seam, no separation, and no finish line to pass. There is no need for hurry and no use for fear and worry, for our lives roll on forever, but only this one moment lasts. I will stand with you when you stand up for everything that you believe is true, and everything you try to help me see. For I am part of you, are part of me, and part of everything that never will be changed, as well as changed in you and me. The circle ends where it begins and starts again just where it ends. No seam, no separation, and no finish line to pass. There is no need for hurry and no use for fear and worry, for our lives roll on forever, but only this one moment lasts. Our lives roll on forever, but only this one moment.
Our closing words tonight come from Desmond Tutu. Because forgiveness is like this. A room can be dank because you have closed the windows, you've closed the curtains, but the sun is shining outside and the air is fresh outside. In order to get that fresh air, you have to get up and open the window and draw the curtains apart.